This right here was the cheapest Honda Integra Type R on the internet. And there's a few reasons as to why.
I paid £7,500 for this car, and on a quick look on Auto Trader shows just how much these are actually selling for. So, why is mine so cheap? Because it's in desperate need of some time, love and care. This car has simply been enjoyed, and although it's been mechanically maintained, the bodywork, engine bay and even the windscreen haven't. So I decided to buy it with one goal in mind: to restore it. I want to get this car looking great again, because when they do, they look amazing, and when I'm finished, it should be worth nearly double what I paid.
Okay, the plan is pretty simple, and it's to make this car look as standard and put it back to as stock as we possibly can. We've got a few parts in the boot, and we've got a list on the whiteboard of everything that we need to do. And some things are going to be harder to do than others, with this being an imported car. Some things are quite expensive, and some things I'm hoping we could maybe get for cheap. But the first one I want to do is the front headlights, and luckily we have the originals in the boot. So very kindly, the previous owner gave me the two original OEM headlights with this car, and the reason I want to put these back in is, well, I'll show you. They, for one, look god awful, and two, at night they barely even shine. Oh, I've just noticed the three. Oh, they look awful. Oh, they look absolutely terrible. I just thought it was the orange bulbs. I didn't know there was three. Yeah, well, that's why. So, first job is to replace them.
So to remove the headlights, the front bumper needs to be removed, and on these cars it's pretty easy. There's one Phillips head screw in the driver's side, there's the same on the passenger side, and then there's 6 bolts holding in the under tray. Once they're off, I can then take out the plastic pot clips for the grille, and that should be the bumper removed. Now with the bumper off, I can undo the bolts holding on that headlight. 2 up top, 1 underneath, and the last one on the side. But then I noticed a pretty big problem.
I think I might be out of luck with these. It's definitely not a Honda headlight, because the Honda headlights actually say Honda on them just there. This one's definitely aftermarket. The only problem is, it looks like someone's absolutely butchered all the wires to make these kind of retrofit. So if we look at the backs of them, they're roughly the same, but then on the bottom, I don't know what's meant to be there that isn't the cutout for it there, and also half of the bulbs are missing. So in this one, or is there a bulb? Have I pulled one out? No. So we basically haven't got half of the plugs to put the original light back in. I don't think that's going to work. I don't think I can put the originals on. The only thing I'm going to kind of be able to do is try and make them look as good as possible, but they just look god awful, don't they, with the orange lights and stuff. That's the only problem, and that had put me off buying this car. Like, that had actually put me off buying it. I'd much prefer the originals. But that's, I mean, what has someone done there? Like, what is that? Like, at least finish the job. Yeah, there's nothing I can do with that. I have no clue what I'm doing with electrics and stuff, so that's well annoying. Okay, what I'll do for now, I'll wire these ones back up, so at least we've got headlights, and I'll sand these down and try and polish them the best I can, because yeah, they just make the whole front end look awful. And if there is any auto electricians out there that think they could make them lights fit on this car again, then please let me know, because that to me is just a mess.
Some you win, some you lose, and if I knew how to wire these headlights back in, I would, but that's a little bit beyond me. The least I can do is get them plugged back in and give them a real good polish so they don't look as old, and I'll order some white bulbs to replace them yellow ones, and after doing that, they actually looked pretty fresh. This is what they looked like before, and this is what they look like after 5 minutes of giving them a little polish. 100 times better. So I'm going to do the exact same on the driver's side.
Little bit annoying that we couldn't get the originals back on, but they're looking a lot better. Now, the plan with this grill. The grill has chipped and it is gonna definitely need a respray. The badges are 80 quid on their own, but this bumper could also benefit from a little bit of a respray. So what I'm gonna do with this is leave it till the end when we've sorted most of the bits out and see what budget we've got left over. If I can afford in the budget to get this front bumper resprayed, then I'll obviously do the grill as well, and we'll just have to get that Honda badge on top. So for now, I'm just going to put this back on and then we'll carry on with the rest, and hopefully in that £2,000 we've got enough to squeeze a front bumper respray in there as well. Fingers crossed, but for now it's going back on.
So I'm going to reinstall the bumper in the reverse order the way I took it off, and I'll be coming back to the front end a little bit later because I managed to find an OEM part that actually came off this car 5 years ago.
Well, although we've not took a step further to putting it back to OEM, it definitely looks better just by polishing them headlights. Next, we're on to the wheels. Now, in the last video, you'd have seen that these are RPF1 style wheels that are actually called ultralights, and these need to go. I need the OEM ones, the stock DC5 wheels. It'll be way more appealing to anyone that would be interested in buying this car. So, I've got two options. I could go out and buy some DC5 wheels, and they're roughly about £400 to £500 for an OEM set. Or, which is the option I'm about to do, I could swap these with someone that has a set of OEM wheels, someone that wants some aftermarket ones and wants to get rid of their stock ones. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So one of you guys actually reached out to me on Instagram and said that they're happy to just do a straight swap. So we're going to do that this evening. So I've got to take all four wheels off, then we've got an hour drive to swap with the owner of the original wheels, and then drive back, fit the original wheels, and then we're taking it to the wheelman in the morning to have them nicely refurbed. That's the plan. So let's get these wheels off.
The good thing with being able to swap the wheels is I'm saving more and more money for the bodywork, and so far I've not had to spend a penny on this car, but now I've got the wheels loaded up, it's time to go and swap them.
Okay, so we're down at Station VTech and we're dropping these alloys off in return for these. As you can see, these are just the standard OEM DC5 alloys with Michelin Pilot Sports 4 tyres on them. So we're pretty much exchanging roughly the same tyres, but these, although they don't look as good as them and they won't look as good on the car, in my opinion, they'll look standard, so the car will be worth more when we're done with it. Right, let's get them out and load these up.
So shout out to the lads at Station VTech for swapping alloys with me. It's definitely helped by being able to save that bit of money. So now we can take them straight to the wheelman to get them freshly refurbed.
Sam, hello again, mate. Once again, we have of course come to the wheelman to get these Integra wheels refurbed. The tyres are quite good on them actually, aren't they?
Not bad, are they? Yeah.
Tyres are really good. So yeah, these are just going to go back in Championship white. Unfortunately, the centre caps are a bit aged, but yeah, I think it just makes sense to go back stock, doesn't it? Just to appeal to a wider bunch of buyers. So we're going to leave them here. Sam's going to work his magic, and then we'll come and grab them. Okay, so while the alloys are being refurbed, I might as well carry on with a few more of the jobs. So I think I might as well have a go at trying to make this engine bay look a lot more presentable. We've got the rocker cover to do. I'm going to be taking this strut brace off because that's just an aftermarket thing, so we'll probably end up selling that, which we could add to the profits. And yeah, this needs refurbing. I'm going to just give it a proper good clean, a proper good detail, and just try and make it look that little bit better. Even down to little things like just take the battery holder off, spray that black, it will just all tie in and make it look very, very nice. So first job, I was going to take the strut brace off, but I've not got the wheels on, so the suspension will just end up pinging out and it will just cause me a headache. So we'll take that off when the wheels are back on the ground. I think first thing I'm going to do is quickly whip this battery thing off. I'll sand that down, spray that black, give the battery a good clean because it's just got a lot of, I can just see we've given it a little bit of time and effort how good this engine bay is going to come up. So we'll start with that, and then I'm going to set the rocker cover off and I'm going to refurb that myself.
So off comes the battery tie, which is held in by two 10mm nuts, and I'm sanding it down and spraying it satin black. While the first coat's drying, I'm giving the engine bay a well-deserved detail. I'll do this again after the paintwork's been sorted, but just after a quick detail, it's already looking a lot better. Now it's time for the second coat on the battery tie. And once it's dried, I can reinstall it and move on to the main part of the engine bay.
Well, just for a quick 10 minutes, that looks a lot better, to be fair. I might actually try and get a championship white rattle can weight and just kind of rough up the edges, the little bits that have gone a little bit aged, like these bits down here, and then just spray it over them. I think that'll look a little bit nicer. But the massive elephant in the bay is the rocker cover. This looks god awful. I don't know how it's managed to get this awful. This is what I mean with this car. It's just been a little bit neglected, so it deserves a fresh look of. In fact, look at that. Like, the paint literally just falls off it. So I'm going to get the rocker cover off. Obviously I've got to take the coils out, dipstick out, take the rocker cover off, and then we could prepare it and spray it. I'm going to just go red because that is the original colour, and we're trying to put this car back to OEM. So let's get it off.
And with this being a Honda, it's an absolute joy to work on, and getting the rocker cover off is simple. First, I'm undoing the 4 bolts holding in the coils. I can unplug them and move the wiring harness out of the way. Next, there's a few 10mm bolts holding the rocker cover down, and lastly, remove the breather hose from the intake, and that's the rocker cover ready to be removed.
Okay, rocker cover is off, and someone's definitely known what they're doing, because if you look in all of the corners on this gasket, someone's known to put paste in it, and that is exactly what you need to do with one of these rocker covers, because they can seep from all of the joints. But that's not a massively old rocker cover either. Either way, this is what we're working with. As you can see, half of the paint is already came off. This oil cap is absolutely god awful. So what I need to do is strip this down a little bit more. I need to take these off, I think, because I don't want them, I don't really want to get paint inside of this rocker cover. To do this, we actually have everything in the boot thanks to the previous owner. This should be everything I think that we need to do the rocker cover. Yeah, this is the red heat resistant paint, and it's also, is this VHT? Will this be the wrinkle red? I'm not actually sure. I think that is what we're looking for. That's the wrinkle red stuff. Is it going? Yeah, it must be red because it's leaked all over. We've got sanding pads. We've got panel wipe. That's actually quite handy. So the previous owner has very kindly gave us everything that I'm going to need. First job is to, well, cover them holes for definite, and then we can start getting the paint and varnish remover on the rocker cover and get all of the red off and start prepping it.
If I can pull this off and it looks good, it's going to completely transform the engine bay, so I want to make sure that I take my time and don't rush. First job, cover the whole rocker cover in paint stripper. This stuff completely dissolves the paint from the metal, making it really easy to remove. Next step is to blast off all the old paint and make sure there's none left over. If there is, it will show through when I start to spray the fresh coat. Now I can dry it off using heated air and start scuffing it up ready for the primer, and of course mask it off.
Okay, I think I'm about ready to start laying the primer. The plan is to get the primer down, get the VHT down, and then after, once I'm done, I'm going to try and sand the Honda badge back to silver. Obviously that's going to end up going red when I paint it. The plan is to sand it back to silver so everything's red except that Honda lettering. I think that'll look cool. I've used VHT before and it's gone great. I've used it other times and it's gone really bad. So fingers crossed this one works out. But let's give it some primer.
Now it's time to lay some paint. All that prep work has been for this, so here goes. I'm giving it a first coat of VHT primer, making sure that I get in all the awkward spaces and shapes of this cover. After 15 minutes, I'm giving it another coat of primer, this time laying it on thick, and now it should be ready for some colour. Unfortunately, the wrinkle red paint nozzle was damaged and I didn't want to risk messing it up, so I've decided just to go for VHT red. VHT stands for very high temperature, which is what the paint needs to withstand being part of the engine. First coat of red is on and I'm giving it 20 minutes before I go on to the next coat, and 20 minutes again for the third coat, and so far I'm actually pretty impressed with the finish.
And here is the finished product. It actually looks a lot better than I imagined it. I haven't ended up going for wrinkle red because the can of VHT wrinkle started spitting out the end, and it's because of the nozzle. I think it's because something fell on it in the boot, unfortunately, but we have done it in this nice kind of satin matte red. Now we're on to some risky business because I've got to scratch off the face of this Honda lettering, and if this goes wrong and I catch the actual rocker cover, I'm going to have to spray it all over again. So, I've got to take my time here.
At this point, the paint had only been sat for about 40 minutes, so it was still soft enough to scrape off. I found it was way easier to just scrape it off with a flathead screwdriver, and luckily enough, it actually turned out really good. But before I refit it, I'm going to leave it overnight for the paint to properly harden.
There we go. Check out the final result. I am well proud of that. It actually has come out way better than I imagined. All that's left to do is get it on the car, but we do have a little bit of a problem. To get it back on the engine, this strut brace is in the way, and getting a freshly repainted rocker cover onto the top of this engine without hitting it off that is going to be a pretty hard challenge. The wheels, we should be able to pick them up any minute now, so instead of me trying to use that jack, which is pretty much broken, I think it's best to just quickly wait until we can go and grab the wheels, fit the wheels, drop the car on the floor, and then I'll be able to take this strut brace off, which is staying off, and then fit the rocker cover. That's the plan. Let's go get the wheels. Here we go, let's have a look at them.
And in typical wheelman fashion, the wheels look absolutely amazing. Championship white is such an awkward colour to get perfect, as it's hard to know how faded the car's paintwork actually is, but these on their own look absolutely perfect. So once again, a huge thank you to the wheelman. I'll leave his link in the description below. Now I can head back to the driveway and get them installed and carry on with the rest of the car.
Right, here we go. Back on the floor. That looks better, doesn't it? That looks 100 times better. I don't know if it's because the wheels are brand new and the paint's a little bit faded, but either way, the white on white just looks so Jap, so JDM. I don't think you can really go wrong with that, but there we go. The original wheels are back on the car in the original colour. I don't think anyone would be put off by them other wheels now. Next job, we can actually start getting the rocker cover back on, and the first job to do that is to take this strut brace off. Now, I'm actually quite surprised with the information that I found out about this strut brace. It has a Mugen sticker on it, which, if you don't know what Mugen is, it's pretty much the, what would you call it? What would you call it? Mugen is kind of Honda's aftermarket brand. They're really rare and really expensive, and a lot of times are replicated. People just buy strut braces and stick the Mugen stickers on them for them to look real. It's almost the same as AMG, no. So, I'm surprised about this because the previous owner has actually contacted me. Someone that actually bought this strut brace for this car 5 years ago, and he has actually confirmed that it is a genuine Mugen strut brace. Now that isn't something that came OEM on this car, so what we're going to do is take it off and we'll sell that separately, and whatever money we get from that we can put it towards getting even more of the bodywork done. Stuff like the bumper, the rear bumper, even maybe blend it into the rear boot. That is the plan. This didn't come OEM, so it doesn't kind of make sense that while we're trying to go back to OEM, to leave that on.
And once again, removing it is easy. 3 bolts on the driver's side strut tower, and you guessed it, 3 bolts on the passenger side strut tower, and it comes right off.
That is a genuine Mugen part, and the way you can tell is the fake strut braces when they get poured into the mould, don't get vibrated to let the oxygen escape, and they go all kind of pitted and a little bit weird looking. As you can see with this one, it's near on perfect. The welds are pretty perfect. So yeah, that is pretty crazy that that is a genuine Mugen part. But yeah, now we can start looking at refitting that rocker cover.
Right, let's get this engine bay complete. Before I fit the rocker cover, I'm changing the gaskets. One O-ring for each of the cylinders and the main gasket around the edge. Now they're all replaced with fresh new ones, it's time to refit it and see what it actually is going to look like in the engine bay. Fitting the rocker cover is the reverse order of how I removed it. The 10mm nuts and bolts require 10 Newton meters, so once I've torqued them down, I can then reinstall the dipstick, ignition coils, and the breather hose, but there's one thing missing: the oil cap. And I'm not going to be refitting that horrible fake Mugen one from earlier. I'm refitting a complete OEM one that came on this car from factory. Safe to say, just painting that rocker cover has turned back at least 5 years on the car's manufacture date, but for the keen-eyed people, you'd have spotted something missing.
I can't believe how good that has turned out. That actually looks amazing. It's turned out way better than I actually thought it would. It has properly brought the engine bay back to life, but there's one thing missing, and UK20 Honda people will know exactly what I mean. It didn't actually come with the car, and what I'm talking about is a spark plug slash coil pack cover. There's normally like a silver kind of plaque that bolts to these 4 bolts here. So obviously we've got a solution. This is a complete OEM standard Honda spark plug cover, and this goes on here like so, and then you bolt it down with the 4 10mm bolts. Look at that, look how OEM that now looks again. I'm actually quite proud of how this is turning out. It's kind of brought a new lease of life to the car. So last job for the engine bay, except obviously scratching these down and repainting them, is to tighten them down, and that should be complete. There we go. For now, that is complete.
Earlier I mentioned that I'd picked up a part that actually came off this car 5 years ago, and once I've installed it, it will definitely complete the front end.
Last thing for the front end is this number plate. Where it's actually sat is probably not doing the car any favours, because it's pretty much blocking the entire radiator, and that is not where these number plates sit from factory. So I'm going to take this front number plate off, and I think there's like an aftermarket bracket behind here. That needs to come off, and then we've got another OEM solution.
First, the front plate has to come off. Behind it is an aftermarket number plate bracket that's bolted to the original brackets, so I'm removing that as well.
Now, don't get me wrong, I do think these cars look way better without a front number plate, but unfortunately, here in the UK, you have to legally run a front number plate. Luckily, I do have a solution. If you see under here, these are the original bolt holes slash brackets for the original number plate holder. So the solution that I've got is this. This is an OEM original DC5 number plate holder, and this will quite literally bolt into there, and the plate sits on there. But this isn't just a standard OEM plate holder. This is actually the plate holder that came on this car from the factory. I actually got contacted by the owner of this car, who owned it 5 years ago, and he's told me a lot of things about it. When he had it, it was literally pristine, perfect condition. He had a carbon bonnet on it, he had a smaller number plate, and yeah, he had this sitting around in his shed, and he reached out to me when I put a story on my Instagram and said, mate, I actually have the original number plate holder for that car that you can just have. And he gave it me for completely free. So far, we've not actually had to spend a penny on this car, which is crazy. So yeah, this is the original plate holder that actually belongs to this car. You can't really get more OEM and factory than that.
So let's get it installed. You've probably already noticed that the upper bolt hole has already been filled in on this bumper. So instead of drilling it, I'm using some double-sided tape and I can just secure it in place with the 2 lower bolts into where they'd normally be. Now all I need is a front number plate.
A massive shout out to Reg Plate King for always hooking up all of the plates for the builds. I'll leave the link to their website in the description and you can use the discount code J3ESE to get yourself some money off. But let's complete this front end. How much better does that look? That is proper imported, fresh, off the trailer look. Now we're on to a repair / upgrade that has actually cost us a little bit of money. And it's actually something on the interior. I've actually mentioned this in the last video and it was something that I was debating just leaving, but I thought, you know what, it's something that will definitely intrigue a potential buyer if the steering wheel doesn't look as shoddy as this one. It's gone all ripped on the top. In fact, you can literally pull the lever off. It's gone completely battered and bruised. It's been probably held by a lot of people. So for this we have got another OEM solution, and this one has cost a little bit of money, but I wanted one that was mint. So I decided to buy this, which is just a straight OEM replacement steering wheel. Now for the keen-eyed viewers, you'd have seen on the original steering wheel, because this is a Type R and it is JDM, it actually says Momo just there, and I think it would have been a little bit criminal if I was to replace it with one that didn't say Momo. So we've had to pay the JDM / Premier Edition tax, but this steering wheel is in perfect condition and it does have the Momo embossed logo just there. This one is near on as perfect as you'd kind of want it. It came with the airbag and the bolts for the airbag, so yeah, I paid £200 for this, but it's the one thing that if someone's going to test drive this car, that's what they're holding to drive it. And I don't know, I just feel like on a test drive, if it had this wheel in over this wheel, it'd definitely sway me to go ahead with a purchase. So yeah, a little bit pricey, but I think it's going to be worth it in the long run, especially with the fact that we didn't have to buy any other wheels, we just swapped them, so we saved a good bit of money there. So let's get this on.
Before I touch anything airbag related, I'm disconnecting the battery, then I can go back inside and start removing the steering wheel. On the left hand side there's a plastic door that when you remove it reveals the plug for the airbag, and also a Torx bolt that holds the airbag in place. I'm unplugging that and undoing the bolt. Same on the other side, one plastic door and one Torx bolt. Now I can pull the airbag away from the steering wheel and fully remove it by unplugging the horn wire. And finally, to get the rest of the steering wheel removed, I need to take off the big nut in the middle, which is a 13mm, and then I can knock the wheel loose from the hub, and that is the steering wheel off.
There we go. That should be steering wheel off. He says. There we go. Right. Out with the old and in with the new. This is really easy stuff. Right. I'm going to make sure it's straight. Easy as that.
Now I can reinstall that 13mm nut for the hub to hold the wheel on, and then I can refit the airbag, plug it in, and then refit the 2 Torx bolts on each side, and of course put the little doors back in place. And that's the steering wheel replaced. So easy, and it's made a huge difference.
Well, it goes without saying, once again, that is literally 1,000 times better. Way nicer, looks way more cleaner, and it just makes the car look like it's been better looked after and not every person's just jumped in it with dirty, nasty hands. That has made a world of difference. Well, I think that is a great start to getting this car back to its former glory. We've still got a couple of bits left to do, like the windscreen and of course all of the bodywork, but that will be coming in a later video. If you did enjoy this one, please remember to like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
You wear a hat, they call dad. Me, I'm the dad in the hat. You just like clubbing and clothes. Me, I like afternoon naps. 3 I be missed for the road. My oldest like counting racks. My middle one, she's in a dirt bike. My youngest is just like a mama. The mama loves me and I love her, so if she wants something, it's never a bother. 3 little ladies, my babies, and 1 on the way.